Welcome into today's edition of Just the Truth. So glad to have you. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas weekend. Did Santa bring you all the things that you had requested? I hope he did. I hope you got to spend some extra time with your family and with your friends, and most importantly, just really thinking and praying about the true meaning of Christmas and why we were all celebrating the birth of that little baby. Lots to cover on this edition of Just the Truth. Appreciate you joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. A radical activist leading the latest massive migrant caravan from Mexico to the U.S. border was once sentenced to 40 years in prison and has already led tens of thousands of asylum seekers to the border. He says this newest group could reach 15,000 before they make it to the U.S.-Mexico border. President Biden took a swipe at the media for negative coverage of the economy ahead of his holiday vacation, telling reporters to start reporting the right way, as if they are reporting misinformation on the economy. And Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez faced blowback for her social media post that tried to liken Jesus to the Palestinian people and criticize Israel, but made no mention whatsoever of terrorist attacks by the Hamas or the hostages that they continue to hold. And did you get a gift card for Christmas? A lot of us did. In fact, millions of people got gift cards for Christmas. But what happens to the money if the card is never redeemed? We're going to tackle that and a lot of other questions as well. Hope you'll join the conversation. You can always send me a quick text, and I've got a lot of those to cover with you today, too, that I received over the weekend. The Truth text line is 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. You can leave a quick voice message as well, and your emails are always welcome. Joey@joeyhudson.com.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
According to the New York Post, a radical activist leading the latest massive migrant caravan from Mexico to the U.S. was once sentenced to 40 years in prison, and he's already led tens of thousands of asylum seekers to the border. His name is Luis Garcia Villagran. He's a self-proclaimed evangelical Christian who is from Mexico. He's at the forefront of a mass migration once again this week, bringing an estimated 8,000 migrants on a Christmas Eve march through Mexico, headed to the U.S. border, which, of course, is already in crisis. And he predicts that the number of asylum seekers could easily double to nearly 15,000 along the way. He's a very media-savvy frontman. He told the Daily Caller in a July 2022 interview, "We try to help people least protected, especially women and child migrants. Simply, we apply what is in the law." Villagran, who heads the Center for Human Dignity, boasted at the time that he had guided 40,000 illegals, my word, not his, of course, to the border since September of 2021, a figure that has multiplied since then and is expected to swell even more in the coming weeks and months. The organizer told the New York Post that he's not financed or assisted by external organizations and is motivated by his faith and a belief in the right of migrants to exit their impoverished origins. And I guess you'd probably add to that their right to come to the United States and partake in all the things that we have to offer, all the things that you and I work hard to accomplish, and pay federal taxes for them to, in return, give to these folks who show up in our country unannounced, uninvited. Villagran was previously arrested in Mexico in 1997 for kidnapping and conspiracy charges. He denied the allegations, of course. He was convicted by a judge, sentenced to 40 years behind bars, but working with several human rights groups, he appealed his case and was eventually freed in 2010. He runs his group with his wife, Martha Martinez de la Fuente, said he was tortured while in custody and that those prior struggles also fuel his mission today. The activist said that he was stigmatized as dangerous and that they took him to a maximum security prison until the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights demanded his freedom. Villagrán suffered a detached retina while in solitary confinement and contends that the condition was left untreated, leading to the loss of sight in one eye. He said the damage was repaired, and that is where the Center for Human Dignity was born. A 2021 profile in Mexico Daily described Villagrán and fellow organizer Aurelio Mujica as media-savvy tacticians who attempt to manage perceptions of the migrant movement in addition to the thousands of their who are in their charge. Garcia is more pastor than protester, according to the Post. Pensive, eloquent, cool-headed. Both understand the power of public opinion and have a knack for politics and an eye for the camera. If he truly does have a knack for public opinion, he's missed this one big time if he thinks that the American people support what he's doing. As for his caravan this during this Christmas season, Villagrán, referring to human smugglers, says, "Today we are the poorest of those who are at the peak of need, those of us who do not have money to pay for visas or proleros." Villagrán has vocally criticized American immigration policy in the past, calling it domineering and driven by a desire to impose. Now, where do these people come from? Why does he think we even care? Why does he think that you and I care what he thinks about our immigration policy? Why doesn't he try to keep these people in their home country, raise the money, help feed them, and house them there, rather than bringing them here, helping facilitate their travel to the U.S.-Mexico border and into our country? There have been roughly 2 million illegal encounters at the U.S. southern border in 2022 and 2023 fiscal years. Nearly 250,000 illegals crossed the perimeter in November alone, a new high for the month and the third highest total in history. Villagrán vowed over the weekend, according to a Reuters report, "We won't be stopped. We'll keep walking." Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez faced some blowback for a social media post that tried to liken Jesus to the Palestinian people and criticize Israel, but made no mention of Hamas, their terrorism, and the hostages that they hold. Ocasio-Cortez wrote this, referencing Jews who lived in the land over 2,000 years ago under Roman control. She said, "In the story of Christmas, Christ was born in modern-day Palestine under the threat of a government engaged in a massacre of innocents. He was part of a targeted population being indiscriminately killed to protect an unjust leader's power." She went on to write, "Thousands of years later, right-wing forces are violently occupying Bethlehem as similar stories unfold for today's Palestinians, so much so that the Christian community in Bethlehem has canceled this year's Christmas Eve celebrations out of both fear for their safety and respect," she said. The area, as you know, is currently under the control of Palestinian Authority. She concluded with her post saying, "The entire story of Christmas and Christ himself is about standing with the poor and powerless, the marginalized and the maligned, the refugees and immigrants, the outcasts and misunderstood without exception," she said. Jacob Kornblau, a senior political reporter for The Forward, responded with a post on X that called out the representative for making no mention of Hamas terror or the victims of October 7th attack. Ocasio-Cortez in November joined with 23 Democrats to ask President Biden and Secretary of State Antony Blinken for details about their plans to de-escalate violence in the region as Israel continued its invasion of the Gaza Strip. The Democrat wrote, "We reaffirm our unequivocal condemnation of the Hamas attacks on Israel that took place on October 7th, in which Hamas killed over 1,200 Israelis and foreign nationals and captured over 200 hostages who were subsequently taken to Gaza. We also share the dire concerns with the ongoing Israeli response in which the Israeli Defense Forces have killed over 11,000 Palestinians, nearly half of whom have been children," they continued, citing numbers provided by Hamas, of course. Bethlehem the long-held birthplace of Jesus Christ, announced that it would not hold its usual Christmas festivities in solidarity with Gaza and the ongoing violence. Regularly displayed decorations were also removed in honor of the martyrs, the city council wrote in a post on their Facebook page. Theologian Jonathan Morris said that the whole decision amounted to a political statement overtaking something that we Christians and that Christians of Bethlehem consider to be sacred. However, a spokesperson for the Bethlehem City Council told the Telegraph back in November that celebrating is not appropriate while there is a massacre happening in Gaza and attacks on the West Bank. By the way, as we continue to see the devastation in the war between Israel and Hamas, this has been a spectacular year of discovery in Jerusalem, particularly those archaeological discoveries in 2023 that have further revealed the presence of Jesus and the Jewish people's more than 2,000 years of unbroken presence in the Holy Land. One example is the Pool of Siloam. Have you read about this? If not, just Google it. It's quite the story. The Pool of Siloam, of course, was a site where Jesus healed the blind man, as told in the Gospel of John. It's a site that 2,000 years ago, Jewish pilgrims cleansed themselves prior to entering the Second Temple. For those of you who were planning to join us in our Stand with Israel trip this year that sadly had to be canceled, we hopefully will be rescheduling that sometime next year. This is a site that we likely would have seen. On my last visit to Israel, Mike Gallagher, my wife Peg, and I were able to spend some time with Zev Ornston, the director of the City of David Foundation, and we were able to see some of the area and the excavation that was taking place then. This was soon after this had been discovered. Many biblical scholars believe that the Pool of Siloam and the Pilgrimage Road, both located within the City of David, are among the most inspiring archaeological affirmations of the Bible. A small section of the pool, which has been fully excavated, has been accessible to the public for several years. The vast majority of the pool is being excavated and will either be open piecemeal or once the entire site is unearthed. I had the pleasure of being able to do a private tour of the Pilgrimage Road area. If you'd like to see that, just text the keyword pool. Just text pool to the Truth text line, 864-477-5639, and I'll send you a link to that. President Joe Biden took a swipe at the media for negative coverage of the economy ahead of his holiday vacation upon leaving the White House. This was on Saturday before spending Christmas at Camp David. President Biden was asked by a reporter about his outlook of the economy going into 2024.
About the economy, sir, what's your outlook on the economy next year?
All good. Take a look. Start reporting it the right way.
All good, he said. Start reporting it the right way. And he kind of smiled, but he also he meant it too. Biden has repeatedly been critical of the press, which he accuses of focusing more on negative news than positive things that come from his administration. Of course, he doesn't care what they have to say about Trump and the previous administration. His approval among Americans continues to reach historic lows, and his handling of the economy is a heavy factor of his unpopularity, because the truth is, and we deal with truthisms here on Just the Truth, is the American people do not see the economy the way Joe Biden does. The American people are experiencing it daily. The American people are filling their fuel tanks up. They're paying the electrical bills. They're buying the groceries, all the things that are much more expensive today than they were when Joe Biden moved into the Oval Office. A recent Fox News poll shows that only 14% of Americans believe Biden's economic policies have helped them, while nearly half, 46%, say that his administration has hurt them financially. The pessimism toward the economy crosses party lines. This is not just Republicans. The Fox News poll showed that 61% of the Democrats join 93% of Republicans and 85% of independents who say that the economy is in bad condition. Democrats are becoming increasingly concerned about Joe Biden going into this year's 2024 presidential election, which, by the way, folks, it's just around the corner, just New Year's next week. The Real Clear Politics average poll shows him more than 2 points behind President Trump in a hypothetical rematch. Among other factors that could negatively impact Joe Biden, including his handling of the border, the crisis overseas, including Ukraine and Israel, the legal woes plaguing his son Hunter, and the impeachment inquiry recently launched by House Republicans. It's going to be a tough one for Joe Biden. Did you receive a gift card for Christmas? If so, you were like millions of others who've also received a gift card to one of your favorite retailers. But what happens to the money if the card is never redeemed? Portions of today's show brought to you by PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. 3 years ago, I was introduced to Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. You've heard me talking about my journey for quite a while now, I'm sure. I was able to lose 30 pounds pretty quickly, and over 3 years later, I've been able to maintain that weight, primarily because PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition is all about the science of nutrition. This is not a fad diet. This is not a diet at all. It's a lifestyle change. And Dr. Lucas and her team teaches you all about what to eat, how to eat, when to eat. And the thing that you're going to notice when you get that excess weight off is that you're going to have more energy. You're going to be in a much better mood. You're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to do things that maybe you haven't been able to do in quite some time. Let me encourage you to go ahead and make that phone call. Go ahead and set up your first consultation so that you can start 2024 as we kick off the new year here this coming weekend, that you can start it off right, getting healthier. 864-252-4925, 864-252-4925. Set up your appointment today. You can also go online to myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. So what happens to the billions in gift cards that are never spent? Gift cards make great stocking stuffers, just as long as you don't stuff them in a drawer and forget about them after the holidays. Americans were expected to spend nearly $30 billion on gift cards this holiday season, according to the National Retail Federation. Restaurant gift cards are the most popular, making up 1/3 of all sales. Most of those gift cards will be redeemed. Paytronics, which tracks restaurant gift card sales, says that around 70% of gift cards are used within 6 months. But many cards, tens of billions of dollars worth, wind up forgotten or otherwise unused. That's when the life of a gift card gets complicated with expiration dates or inactivity fees that can vary state by state. So here's what you need to know about the gift cards that you receive for Christmas. After clothing, gift cards is the most popular present during the holiday season. Nearly half of Americans planned to give them. Half of Americans receive them, according to the National Retail Federation. Again, many will remain unspent. Gift cards get lost, forgotten. Recipients hang on to them for a special occasion. In a July survey, the consumer finance company Bankrate found that 47% of U.S. adults had at least one unspent gift card or voucher with an average value of $187. That alone totals about $23 billion. Under a federal law that went into effect in 2010, gift cards can expire for 5 years from the time it's purchased or from the last time someone added money to it. Some state laws require an even longer period. In New York, for example, a gift card there purchased after December of 2022 can expire for 9 years. Differing state laws are one reason that many stores have stopped using expiration dates altogether. Ted Rossman is a senior industry analyst at Bankrate. He talks about how people still end up leaving a lot of money on those bank cards. While it may take gift cards years to expire, experts say that it will still wise to spend them quickly. Some cards, especially generic cash cards like Visa or MasterCard or American Express, they'll start accruing inactivity fees if they're not used after about a year. And this begins to, of course, eat away at their value. Inflation also makes cards less valuable over time. And if a retail store closes or goes bankrupt, a gift card could be worthless. Perhaps consider clearing out your stash on National Use Your Gift Card Day. Did you even know that was a day? There's a 5-year-old holiday. It was created by a public relations executive. It's now backed by multiple retailers. The next one is January 20th, 2024. If you have a gift card that you don't want, one option is to sell it on sites like Card Cash or Raise. Rosman says that resale sites won't give you full face value. Typically, they'll give you 70 to 80 cents per dollar. What happens to the money when a gift card goes unused? That depends on the state where the retailer is incorporated. When you buy a gift card, a retailer can use that money right away, but it also becomes a liability. The retailer has to plan for the possibility that the gift card will be redeemed. Every year, big companies calculate what they call breakage, which is the amount of gift card liability they believe won't be redeemed based on historical averages. For some companies, like Seattle-based Starbucks, breakage is a huge profit driver. Starbucks reported $212 million in revenue from breakage in 2022. In at least 19 states, including Delaware, where many of the big companies are incorporated, retailers must work with state unclaimed property programs to return money from unspent gift cards to the consumers. Money that isn't recovered by individual consumers is spent on public service initiatives. In the state's views, it shouldn't go back to the companies because they haven't provided a service to earn it. All 50 states and the District of Columbia have unclaimed property programs. Combined, they return around $3 billion to consumers annually, says Misha Warshaw, the executive director of the Washington State Budget and Policy Center. Ms. Warshaw says it can be tricky to find the holders of unspent gift cards, but the growing number of digital cards that name the recipient helps. State unclaimed property offices jointly run the website missingmoney.com, where consumers can search by name for any unclaimed property they've owed, including cash on gift cards. So remember that, missingmoney.com. On the Truth text line, Bonnie writes, Biden aids the enemy, so he's also an insurrectionist. This is back to a topic that we were talking about last week of the fact that Donald Trump has not even been charged with being an insurrectionist, yet that's a big part of this Colorado lawsuit that we've talked so much about. Christy says, enjoyed all the podcasts this week. Still wish you were live on the radio, but this is great too. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Hope you had a great Christmas too, Christy. Texter says, our country is being run by a ship of fools. Good for Texas, saving our citizens. Between electric vehicles and illegals, we don't stand a chance. Pray God handles this. That's for sure. Our text of encouragement today, joy is always the result of God's presence, God's blessings, God's justice, or the fellowship found with other believers. God bless. Merry Christmas. Hope you had a great Christmas as well. In our email inbox, got an email from, let's see, this is Jennifer and Andy says, Merry Christmas to you, Joey. Yes, this is from Jean. Yes, my wife, Gail, found your podcast for me, and now I can listen almost every day. God bless. Gene is a guy that I met at the Relax the Back store, and we exchanged information there. And I'm glad to hear that Gene has found the podcast. Gene, if you're listening today, hope you had a great Christmas. It was good getting the email from you. Okay, then Jennifer and Andy says, it's Christmas and I woke up to your Christmas story. I didn't think that you'd have a podcast today, but there it was, and it was wonderful. Thank you for putting out that Christmas message for your listeners. Andy and I wish you and Peg and Mike and Simon and Jesse and all who share your home today a blessed and Merry Christmas and a safe, happy, prosperous, successful 2024. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate that. Yes, I had a special message yesterday. If you didn't listen to yesterday's session, go back and listen. I talked about the reason we were celebrating Christmas. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639 is how you can be heard as well. Send me a quick text message. Leave me a voice message. We'll air those as we have time. And your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. So even as the left is beginning to see how bad they look defending the actions of Harvard President Claudine Gay, this is the president of Harvard that we talked so much about over the last week or two. She's been accused of plagiarism a number of times. She refuses to resign. And so far, the Board of Trustees at Harvard refuses to ask her to step aside. Calls are growing from the left, though, for Ms. Gay to step down after she was accused of dozens of additional instances of plagiarism in her past scholarly writings. Now, if she were a student at Harvard, no way would she be allowed to be there based on the stories that are already out there, based on some of the confirmed suspicion of plagiarism. Multiple papers that she's supposedly authored are questionable. Portions of today's show brought to you by Discounted Appliance Warehouse. Had a great time with my buddy Jeff and some of the team at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. We went to see the Carolina Panthers play Green Bay on Christmas Eve. Thank you. Jeff was so gracious to invite Peg and me to join him. If you are tired of buying appliances from inexperienced sales staff with no appliance knowledge, you're not going to get that with Jeff and Johnny and the whole team at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. That's who I buy all of my appliances from, because you can trust that they are going to get you the right deal, the right appliance. You know, appliances are not inexpensive, and you can't afford to make the wrong purchase. You're not going to do that with Discounted Appliance Warehouse. They have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, nearly perfect reviews on Google. The team at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they have the knowledge you need to have the confidence in your purchase. They'll show you around the warehouse. It's 11,000 square feet, just slam full of appliances just waiting for you. Quite often, you buy it today and use it today. Discounted Appliance Warehouse. They offer the service beyond the sale to you, more than just a credit card swipe. They truly make you part of the family. And it's worth the short drive to Pickens. Find them online as well at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. So liberal Washington Post columnist and associate editor Ruth Marcus has added to the pileup with her opinion column that was printed this past Saturday entitled Harvard's Claudine Gay Should Resign. In it, the columnist said that she had initially dismissed Gay's critics, believing that they were motivated by politics and no small dose of racism. So she thought that a lot of people being racist. Miss Gay is a African American woman, so she thought racism was entering into this somehow. I guess she's changed her tone though. While she still felt this to be true, Marcus begrudgingly acknowledged that the academic's has a problematic track record. She wrote, "She plagiarized her acknowledgments. I take no joy in saying this, but Harvard President Claudine Gay ought to resign. Her track record is unbefitting the president of the country's premier university. Remaining on the job would send a bad signal to students about the gravity of her conduct." You think? You think that if your president has been charged with plagiarizing other papers, other faculty members' papers to get to where she is, that maybe, just maybe, this is the wrong signal for students? Again, a Harvard student would have already been kicked out. She goes on to write, "The instance of problematic citation in the work of Gay, a political scientist, have become too many to ignore." Marcus cited the Washington Free Beacon's reporting, finding that Gay had copied full sentences and entire paragraphs with just one or two words changed in at least 10 of the instances of alleged plagiarism. Over 40 additional charges of alleged plagiarism were dropped against the school leader, the Free Beacon reported on December 20th. The outlet said the full list of examples spans 7 of Gay's publications, 2 more than previously reported, which comprise almost half of her scholarly output. Gay also stands accused of copying her colleagues' work for her 1997 doctoral dissertation without attribution, Marcus wrote. That's not sloppiness, that's plagiarism. She pointed to the elite university's own strict guidelines on plagiarism to conclude that Gay was not being held to the same standards that students are expected to follow. And then they pointed out that under a section entitled What Constitutes Plagiarism, which is on Harvard's website, says it is considered plagiarism to draw any idea or any language from someone else without adequately crediting that source in your paper. The university goes on to call this unacceptable, stealing someone else's work, whether intentionally or by accident. Despite the growing calls for Gay to resign, Harvard has thus far backed the embattled president. In a statement published on December the 12th, the Harvard Corporation reaffirmed its support for President Gay's continued leadership of Harvard University. Harvard acknowledged that an independent probe found a few instances of inadequate citation in Gay's past academic work. The statement added, while the analysis found no violation of Harvard's standards for research misconduct, President Gay is proactively requesting 4 corrections in 2 articles to insert citations and quotation marks that were omitted from the original publications. Don't you think it's a little bit late to be putting those citations in there? They don't want to ask her to resign because she is a black female. It's just as simple as that. If she were a white male, she would already be gone. She would have already been asked to step aside. Actually, she would not have been asked to step aside. She would have been fired. Harvard's Board of Trustees, they are afraid to fire her because she is a black woman. Period. End of sentence. Glad to have you join me today. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Appreciate you joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails with the most up-to-date news. Appreciate you being with me. We'll be back again tomorrow. Keep your comments coming via the Truth text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639, and keep your emails coming as well, joey@joeyhudson.com. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow. And remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control.